Welcome to the Big Block Hour here on ESPN 1700. My name is Brian Sciutto with First California Mortgage Company. Happy Friday to everybody listening out there. It's a beautiful day here in San Diego. I'm super excited today to have a phenomenal real estate agent to share their expertise with all of our listeners so that we can help you win in this market. His name is Arlo Nugent, and Arlo is the broker owner of Blue Chip Realty Group here in San Diego County. Arlo, how are you today?
Good. A lot on my plate today. I got the grand opening going on tonight, and it's just been one thing after another. But growing up, I was always told that I have a face for radio, so I'm here now and very happy about that.
You can't steal my line, man. I'm the one who has the face for radio, Arlo. You're a much better looking guy than I am.
Well, we'll share it.
Right on. Well, better. We're behind the mic than out on TV. So I'm super excited to have you here, man, because I had the pleasure of finally getting to meeting you the other day at your brand new office, which you're christening tonight here in San Diego. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about your office real quick before we get into it?
Sure. So very excited about the new office. It's Blue Chip Realty Group. It's right off the 163, doing a grand opening tonight from 6 to 9. It's 4411 Mercury Street. If any of the listeners want to come by, shake hands, say hello. And, brought on some really quality agents and very, very excited about where it's going.
Fantastic. So why don't you give the listeners a little background on you? So I was lucky enough to get a little lesson the other day about what an REO expert is, right? We talked about that.
REO expert.
We had a little bit of fun with that.
We did.
You, more than anybody I've met recently, have really exploded in the REO market. You have some fantastic accounts. You handle a lot of REO business, and REOs are a very, very hot topic right now.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. It's a hot word, and I have so many buyers that come to me because I work on both sides of the fence. And buyers come to me, usually first-time buyers, and, they've heard some type of infomercial or seen something on the internet, and they say, God, this market, prices are coming up, so I want you to find me an REO because I want to get a really good deal, and I want to come in under market. And that simply is not the case in San Diego. Sure, Flint, Michigan, some other areas, you can buy properties 70 cents on a dollar, but not in San Diego. My asset managers, they're looking at those properties just like anything else. And even with them being such a hot word, if anything, it attracts more attention. And we get multiple bids, we get them in the beginning, and a lot of them are closing over asking.
Okay, fantastic. So for those of you out there listening, maybe you've bought recently, maybe you've been lucky enough to get an REO in the past, and maybe it was below market value, right? But, I think the conception is, or the misconception is that many of the properties out there that are labeled REO are discounted, right? And first of all, let's just start with, what does REO mean? Can you let the listeners know what REO means?
Sure. So real estate owned, that's a property that's gone through the foreclosure process, has gone back to the bank, and the bank owns it. So now there's an asset manager that works for the bank that's trying to get the highest return possible from that property. Now, also people say foreclosure, I want to buy a foreclosure because I want to flip it. I want to buy a foreclosure because they're trashed and I can go in and do what I want. That's not always the case. We look at them together and we say, if we can do a few things here, is that going to help us on the return? So it's essentially flipping, but it's not. We're just making it a little bit nicer of a property.
Right. And so for the listeners, again, REO, it's a real estate owned property. It's a property that's been foreclosed on. Right. So somebody wasn't making their payments or decided to walk away from their obligation. The bank took it over, foreclosed on them, and then they're putting it back for sale to all the buyers that are pre-qualified in this market. And I think the buyers are hopeful, and I get calls all the time, right, from people that we get pre-qualified. And they're like, Brian, do you have any lists of REO properties? Because we really want to buy an REO. We really want to get just the best deal we can. We don't want to pay market price. You touched on it a second ago. REO today, folks, does not mean that you're going to get a phenomenal deal anymore. Can you let the people know why? This is a different market than it was a year ago today.
For many reasons. One, the bank, they're not stupid. They do a lot of due diligence before the property ever hits the market, and they have certain numbers that they have to meet. So you just can't come in and lowball a property, even if it's been on the market for a while. They've probably held that note for quite some time. So you can't expect just to come in, lowball them, the bank's going to take it because it's some asset manager who's out of area, out of touch, maybe doesn't care. It's not the case at all. And you have a lot of competition. And that's not just REOs, that's all of San Diego right now. Super, super high demand, low supply. It's pushing prices up. We're getting into the summer months now, even more buyers. So it's a really interesting time.
Absolutely. So, I mean, in general, the bank is a seller just like any other seller.
Absolutely.
And the reason why people were getting great deals before April of 2012 was because it was a buyer's market then,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
People were afraid to buy.
Right.
Right? And so it shifted. So people were afraid to buy. So people were able to undercut list prices, whether it was an REO or a traditional sale.
Right.
And so today the phenomenon has changed. Like you said, we have a very limited supply.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of people that finally feel confident again in our economy. We're making steps in the right direction. And so people are getting their sea legs underneath them, so to speak, and so they're getting confidence to get back in the market. And, you know, we've been talking about this for a couple years now on the show, and that, look, the market is going to change. Don't get left behind. And so although there were a lot of buyers out there that were qualified and thought that maybe they should be buying, they were controlled by the negativity of the media, right? And negativity of the media, oh, it's a bad time, it's a dark place, real estate. I don't know if I ever want to own again because of what happened recently. And so we talk a lot about capitalizing on chaos or capitalizing on the chaos in any market in this show. And I think real estate was one that people in the past couple of years had a huge opportunity. Now it's flipped, like we talked about. And so sellers have the supreme advantage because there's not a lot of them. And so it just so happens to be that the banks that own these properties have the advantage now, right?
That's right. And, you know, my asset manager, just like any other client, I get an offer and I present it and we talk about it. And we decide, what should we do? Should we counter? Should we accept certain terms? Should we reject it? What do we do? But it's a person on the other end. You know, a lot of these people, they have this misconception. It's a bank. It goes, I upload it into some program and it automatically calculates something, spits it back, and we hear back 3 or 4 days later. And it's simply not the case. It's just a seller. That's all I'm working with.
You're just working with a seller, and it's your job for that seller to get them the highest price on their product.
Absolutely, because I want to keep representing that seller for a very, very long time. That seller has a lot more properties than a lot of other sellers, and it's absolutely important that they're treated just like I treat all of my clients, red carpet treatment.
Absolutely. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, REOs, folks, right? The misconception is everybody wants to buy an REO if they can get their hands on one. But from what I'm hearing from you, it's not the case that they're going to get a better deal just because it's an REO.
No. If anywhere right now in this market, short sales, great places to find deals. And one reason is because a market is going up so fast, so quick. If you can get into a short sale now, get the BPO approved, get the approval, and you're taking a couple months to close escrow, it could be you're walking into a substantial amount of equity at that point because the market's going up, and it's a longer transaction. A lot of my clients are getting great deals in short sales. The problem is, with the market going up the way it is, we're not seeing as many short sales as we used to. Just the past couple of weeks, I've turned down 2 short sale listings because it was not in the best interest of my client. Now, they called me to list, and I sat down with them and I explained, let me just show you what's going on in the market. These are comps. This is what your house is worth. This is where the market is going. And with those 2 clients, had they been upside down more, had they been behind several payments, had other financial obligations that they're putting ahead, or had some other type reason, illness or something, then of course we would have proceeded. But they're not behind. They think that they were upside down a lot more than they really are. And when I showed them, in actuality, you're pretty close. And at this rate, you're breaking even soon. They just were kind of surprised. And I said, well, I'm not trying to talk myself out of a listing, but I'm just talking to you as if anyone else, my brother, anybody. And maybe you shouldn't short sell.
I love it. So you just mentioned a couple things, and I think the word for what you're talking about, and as far as who you are as a person, is integrity.
Absolutely.
Right? And so on this show, we don't bring on just any professionals. We bring on the best in San Diego. Arlo Nugent happens to be one of the best in San Diego. We're going to talk about integrity. We're going to talk about where the market is today. We're going to talk about winning in this market when we come back. You can reach us with any questions at www.bigblockradio.com. Otherwise, we will help you win in this market when we come back.
Just having an estate plan or trust in place isn't always enough to make difficult times less challenging for you and your family. Life is full of change. This is why it's so important to have your estate documents reviewed regularly. Contact my attorney, Jared Causa with Neil Diamont Law Firm, and find out if a review of your estate plan is needed. 619-238-1712. Since life changes so quickly, make sure your estate is properly handled. 619-238-1712 for your free consultation. Just mention Mr. Credit. 619-238-1712.
Have you been arrested recently? Are you facing a DUI or criminal charges? Are you losing sleep at night because you just don't know what to do? Melissa Bobrow is a criminal defense attorney who is not afraid to go to trial and do whatever it takes to defend her clients. Call her now for a free consultation at 619-800-5434. That's 619-800-5434. Melissa Bobrow, there to help you with the worst problem of your life. Get your free consultation. 619-800-5434. That's 619-800-5434.
According to the Government Accountability Office, over 70% of people have errors on their credit report. And let me tell you, these errors are not helping your credit score. They are hurting it. Hi, Mr. Credit here. Look, the fact is, credit repair can work, but it's just too expensive for most people to be able to afford it. That's why I'm excited to tell you about a nonprofit company that has a flat fee credit repair system for only $4.99 per person. If you or anyone you know wants to improve their credit, just call the Credit Repair Helpline and speak with an expert for free today. 800-525-1349. That's 1-800-525-1349. Don't let the banksters and credit bureaus win the battle of destroying your credit so they can make a profit. Fight back today. Call 1-800-525-1349. That's 1-800-525-1349. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, over 90 million people in the U.S. own mutual funds. Now, I wonder how many of those people have read all the fine print associated with those investments. The good news is you don't have to figure it out on your own. Let me introduce you to Dan Osgood. Dan is a certified financial planner and actually a friend. Through his website, freeinvestmentaudit.com, he will do a free risk and cost analysis for any investment portfolio you have. This free analysis will find all the hidden fees and uncover the missing money from your investments. Most people don't think they're paying any fees at all, but trust me, you definitely are. The question is, how much in fees are you paying for the investments you have? If you have a retirement account or a bond portfolio of any kind, go to freeinvestmentaudit.com right now and get your free analysis. You deserve to know what your investments are really costing you. freeinvestmentaudit.com. That's freeinvestmentaudit.com, or text the word audit to 84444.
There are so many reasons to send flowers this time of year. Hey there, it's the Coast from ESPN Radio. Spring birthdays, anniversaries, and let's not forget about Mother's Day. Make someone in your life feel special by sending a beautiful floral bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. I always count on 1-800-Flowers.com to deliver the freshest, highest quality flowers backed by their 100% smile guarantee. My beautiful mama, she just had her birthday in early April. It wasn't even a thought process. I went straight to 1-800-Flowers.com, made my order, received my email confirmation, and it was done. Simple as that. Check this out. This week only, order 12 beautiful spring roses and 6 additional roses in a premium vase, all for only $29.99. 18 purple, pink, and peach roses in a premium vase for over 40% off the regular price. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com from your desktop or mobile device. Click on the radio microphone in the upper right-hand corner and enter Coach. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter Coach. Or call 1-800-Flowers and mention Coach.
Welcome back to the Big Block Hour here on ESPN 1700. I am Brian Shuto. Happy Friday to everybody out there. I have Arlo Nugent with Blue Chip Realty Group here in San Diego, and we are talking a little real estate. We're talking a little REOs. We're talking a little bit offline. I was cracking up, Arlo. So we got started a little late on the show here today, probably about 20 seconds late. Listeners probably didn't notice, but you made it happen. So you got blocked in by somebody at Target. Let the listeners know we have a little comedy.
Well, okay, so I've got this grand opening going on tonight. I've got friends, family, clients, realtors, and I'm hoping come on board with me. I've got a lot of people showing up tonight, and so I've got these 2 tables I had to go pick up from Raphael's. They're, great company here in San Diego, and drive back down, and I realize I only have 1 tablecloth, so I have to get another one to cover the second table. So I go over to Target. I'm pulling into a parking lot, and there's this guy right in front of me who sees somebody hit the reverse lights, and he slams on his brakes so he can get that spot. He throws it in reverse, starts coming right at me, so I start laying down on the horn. He's hanging out the window yelling at me. His wife's yelling. They're cussing. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So the car backs out. He still has his car in reverse and doesn't realize it's in reverse, hits the gas, almost hits my car. It must have been inches. Finally pulls in a spot. I drive 2 spots down to the next open spot. The whole thing was so unnecessary. It was really ridiculous. Park my car, get up. He's pulling a card out. He's turning around muttering something to me, and I'm like, buddy, it's not personal, okay? His wife says something, so I'm just like, okay, whatever, focus. Take off. I go. I find my tablecloth. It's surprising how many different types of tablecloths there are in Target. I've never looked for a tablecloth. But anyways, so I run back to my office. I'm looking at my watch. I'm a very, very punctual person. I'm half German, and I'm sure I get it from the German side. But so I'm running up to my office. I get the tables up. I'm running back down. I've heated up this stew that I had for lunch today. Stew in one hand, go down to my car, and I have 2 inches between cars. And there's just no way I can get in the driver's side. I'm looking at the watch. I'm just starting to get a little bit aggravated at this point. My business, Blue Chip Realty Group, is in a very large complex, and I look around, lots of cars. There's no way that I'm going to find whose car this is. So to me, the only thing I could do at that time was open up the passenger door. Couldn't get in on that side. Open the sunroof. Went through the sunroof. So I'm a little bit dirty. I've washed my car, but it's been about a week or so, and
kind of like Dukes of Hazzard style. Jumped in through the sunroof. I love it.
You do what you have to do. I've got stew in one hand, and it's in like this Pyrex glass that's not supposed to heat up, but it's burning the crap out of me, and I'm just... It's just been one of those days.
Hey, man, it's the grand opening of the office. It's almost like a wedding. If something doesn't go wrong or you don't have a good story, it's probably not a good grand opening, right?
Exactly. And like a wedding, it's supposed to only happen once, so we'll see.
Right on. Well, it's going to be great. And listen, everybody out there, it's Friday, people. We're in San Diego. The weather's 70 degrees. Relax a little bit. We're heading into the weekend. When you're in San Diego, you're not supposed to stress out and curse at your neighbors, man. There was a parking spot, absolutely. 2 spots down. Take the open spot and just relax. We're not on the East Coast, but we're glad to have you, man. We made it just in the nick of time.
That's right, literally.
And we are talking real estate, Blue Chip Realty here, Arlo, talking with one of the foremost REO agents in San Diego County, if not in our entire state. I know you list a lot of properties all around the state for the banks that you represent.
I do.
And I want to talk about REO and expert, like what that means, right? There's a lot of agents in San Diego County and a lot of buyers who
they're all REO experts.
Right? Everybody's an REO expert. So let's talk about that. So when I get business
luxury
cards,
specialists and all of this, and thanks for bringing that up, because I actually had an experience with that earlier this week. And you're right, I do list properties all over Southern California. I've got 3 listings in LA, quite a few in Riverside, Laguna Beach, all over the place. When I get a listing that is out of my territory, and that's basically anything north of LA, I cannot service that property the way I would a property in my own neighborhood, so I don't take that listing. It's just not the right thing to do. So my asset manager, one of them, sends me a property and says, hey, I've got this property. I need it listed by Monday in Barstow. And I've never been to Barstow. So
not a lot of people have.
No, not at all. Maybe even driven through. So I tell him, I just can't take this listing. It's not, wouldn't be in the best interest of the company and of his company and, him as a seller. So how about I call around and I interview some agents for you, and I give you the agent that I think is best suited for a job. He thanks me, says, sure, it's a great idea. So I start researching different real estate agents in Barstow, and every single one of their profiles says that they're an REO specialist. It's great. Excellent. Okay, cool. So I call them up, and I see this a lot in advertising and in our market.
Let's let's talk about that again. REO specialist. So everybody that you called on their title, not only are they a real estate agent, mm-hmm. they are an REO specialist.
Specifically.
All right. So
what
I call
the first one. So I call the first one, and I say, hey, Arlo Nugent here in San Diego, and found your profile on Trulia. Now, I'm not trying to sell you anything, because as you know, too, being in the business, we get calls all day long from people trying to upsell us, sell us this, that, the other. So I let that be known in the beginning, and I let them know that I'm a broker. And I say, so I've got this listing, and I'm calling around to agents, and I see that you're an REO specialist. Tell me a little bit about how you earned that title, and what courses you've taken to earn that designation. And after 3 to 5 seconds of stuttering and, trying to buy some time, it was pretty much always the same answer that, I've represented a few buyers on REOs. Excellent. Okay, so now you're an REO specialist, and that's fine. I get it to an extent, the way they market themselves, but it was really interesting. I called 5. No one could really give me a good answer. They all kind of eventually stumbled on that they worked with a buyer. But I did find an agent that, outside of that question, answered all the others pretty well, and he's got the listing now, so I think it'll work out well. Very
good. So let's talk about REO specialist again. So I know that you are an REO specialist, even though you don't put it on your title.
It's
right?
not in my signature. It's
I'm looking
not on
at
my
it right
website.
Now. I don't see it anywhere.
No.
So what does that mean for the listeners out there? I mean, what is an REO specialist? And if I'm a buyer, and I want to buy an REO, does it necessarily mean I need to find somebody with an REO specialist on their title?
No.
What does that mean?
But it would be quite easy to find that. See, that's the thing in real estate is there, like in medicine, for example, you specialize in something and you train in that field for years.
Get
and
licensed.
You earn that title.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. And pass specific boards for whatever you're going into. Real estate, we don't have that. It's a pretty easy barrier of entry. It's really easy to get a license. It's just very tough to make a living doing it because, especially in San Diego, it is so competitive. But we can be a self-proclaimed luxury specialist. That's something I see all the time. Over at REBA, the Real Estate Association in La Jolla, everybody in that room advertises themselves as a luxury specialist. But you can look up transactions, and if they're doing condos in El Cajon, then they may not be luxury specialists, but it's just what people put out there.
So what I'm hearing is REO specialists, luxury specialists, etc. There's no true license for that. So
Correct.
It's just a way to market yourself. And if I'm a buyer, look, I want to seek out the best agent, whether or not it says REO specialist. If I want an REO property, it doesn't mean that I should go with the first person that I find that says REO specialist, because
100%
8 out of 10 people that give me a business card these days, it says REO specialist on it.
Exactly. What's more important is a lot of my business outside of REO comes from referrals, and that's really the way to grow business, because that person, you have a mutual contact, and there's a certain amount of trust that's already been established if it's a referral. But if there are any buyers, sellers listening right now, and they are looking for an agent, don't take the first person that comes along. Don't call the first face you see on a bus bench. call 2 or 3 people, interview them. You can do that just like anything else. You interview them, you ask them, bring testimonials, bring a resume, phone numbers for testimonials. So many testimonials have a first name and an initial for a last name. You know, ask for phone numbers. Just like if you were to interview a babysitter to watch your child, you want not only a sentence from what Joe Schmo says, you want a phone number, you call, you follow up, do your due diligence with agents. There are a lot of us in San Diego, a lot of great ones, but you call around and talk to a few. And if it's for a listing, ask 5 properties they've sold in the neighborhood.
So, that, I mean, you make some great points. And so when we talk about testimonials, if it says Arlo in,
right,
most likely, I mean, oftentimes that means that testimonial or referral was written for that person, right? Or maybe by the agent themselves.
It could be.
It could be. We're not going to call out any names here.
I've never had a client write a testimonial for me and not be willing to sign it with their full name.
So, again, you make some great points. So for buyers in the market, look, do your due diligence. Mm-hmm. Don't go with the fluff on a marketing card. Don't go with fluff in general. You definitely want to do your due diligence. You want to make some phone calls. Ask that agent for some past clients so you could give them a call, find out how that transaction went, if they were satisfied, and if in fact they got them the home that they really loved.
And listings too, it's very important. Do not just give your property to the first person who says they can list your property and do it well.
Absolutely.
Interview 3 people.
Absolutely. So when we come back, we're going to continue talking about ways for you as listeners to win in this market. You're listening to Big Block Radio. You can reach us at bigbblockradio.com with any questions you have. When we come back, we'll be with Arlo Nugent again, talking a little real estate and how to help you win in this market.
Mm-hmm.
This is John Feinstein, and this is a CBS Sports Minute. Sidney Crosby may be playing hockey again next week. This is very good news for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's even better news for hockey. Crosby's been out since March 30th when he took a deflected puck in the mouth, lost a bunch of teeth, and had to have his jaw wired. A truly horrific and flukish injury. Now he's close to being ready to play with the playoffs starting next week. The Penguins have hockey's second-best record, even though he's missed all of April. Even so, to win a Stanley Cup, they need a healthy Crosby. Beyond that, if Crosby comes back and the Washington Capitals, led by a suddenly rejuvenated Alexander Ovechkin, stay hot, the Caps and Penguins could meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. 4 years ago, Caps, Penguins, and Crosby-Ovechkin were the sport's best rivalries. Since then, Crosby's battled injuries and Ovechkin a strange, never really explained malaise. If both are now back, this could be a hockey spring to remember. I'm John Feinstein.
Hello, this is Scott for Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food. Lads, your lawn is a living, breathing thing, and right now it's hungry, famished even. So it's up to you to feed it, and feed it today with Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food. A prompt feeding now in early spring and another in late spring strengthens and helps protect your lawn from future problems. Learn more at scotts.com. Go on, put down some Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food this weekend. Feed your lawn. Feed it.
Welcome to Sears Auto Center. Wheatgrass smoothie? Kombucha colonic?
No.
Your meditation room is this way. Namaste.
Namaste, okay.
Adding a health spa would make tire shopping healthy, but it wouldn't make it better. Better is Sears Auto Center, with extended hours and online scheduling. Plus, members get up to $130 in savings and deals after mail-in rebate on top brands like Goodyear, Michelin, and the Mighty Road Handler. This is convenience. This is Sears Auto Center. Offer in Sport 27. Installation required. See store for details. Members earn points on qualifying purchases. Subject to full program terms available at shopyourway.com.
We're about to go party to party, Bud Light and Pitbull to the East Coast. Die. To the West Coast, darling. Keep the party moving, darling. Bud Light, together again with Pitbull. Here we go.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri. Enjoy responsibly. Do you have a used or vintage musical instrument at home gathering dust? Guitar Center's experts are interested in buying it from you now through Sunday. You don't even need to be a musician. Look in attics and basements because we'll pay you top dollar for qualified guitars, amps, pedals, keyboards, drums, and more. It's the Used and Vintage Gear Expo at your local Guitar Center, now through Sunday. Looking to upgrade? We'll buy qualified used and vintage gear and give you a 15% discount on new gear. You can even trade gear. Find details and your local store at guitarcenter.com.
Hi, Mr. Credit here. I can't tell you how excited I am to have Bruce McPherson with Security One Lending as a regular guest on the show and my go-to guy for reverse mortgages. Listen, if you're 62 years or older and you own a home, whether you have a mortgage or not, chances are you can benefit from one of today's HECM reverse mortgage options. Just call Bruce McPherson at 866-223-7174. That's 866-223-7174. You can just email reversemortgagebruce@gmail.com. Over the past 9 years, Bruce has really earned his reputation as an honest, ethical reverse mortgage advisor, and he is someone I genuinely trust, and you can too. Don't let old myths about reverse mortgages keep you from calling to get the facts. Today's government-insured HECM reverse mortgages are incredibly flexible, whether you need money now or just want to be prepared for the future. Call your local expert, Bruce McPherson, today and get all the answers you need for free. 866-223-7174. That's 866-223-7174, or just email reversemortgagebruce@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the Big Block Hour here on ESPN 1700. I am Brian Shudo, your host today, with Arlo Nugent here from Blue Chip Realty Group. Arlo has a fantastic grand opening tonight for his new office, celebrating his success, the agents on his team doing great things in the real estate community. I'm really happy to have him in studio sharing his knowledge with everybody out there listening.
Thank you.
So, again, we were talking about, when we left, we were talking about listings, right? And whether or not, I think we were talking about whether or not this is a good time to list your property off air. We know it's a great time to buy, or at least try to get in before the market gets away from some folks. But, you know, we talked about, is this a great time to list your property last show as well. And we had, for the first time, an agent that came on that basically, unlike all the other agents, said, I wouldn't sell if I had a property today and I could afford to make my mortgage payments. I don't think I would sell today. And you brought that up earlier, Arlo, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. You had two clients that wanted to put their properties on the market, right? You had an interview, which you do for your listings. You learned all the information about both families. They both had assumed that they would have to do a short sale, and they just assumed that now is the right time to do that. And so in mentioning earlier on the air, you mentioned that you talked both of them out of doing that. And so can you give some listeners out there a little more perspective, maybe if they're in the same situation, if they can afford not to list their properties right now? I mean, what's the best thing for people to do that own properties and perhaps want to sell and perhaps maybe move up or maybe just get out from under where they're at right now?
Sure. So I wouldn't say that I really talked them out of it. What I did is just presented everything to them.
Yeah.
I just gave them all the information, and they made the choice at that time not to list because their financial situation is not as bad as some other clients I've had for short sales. With them, they're not behind on their mortgage. The hardship exists, but is not as large as with some other clients, and could be temporary because one of the clients, he's self-employed and his business depends a lot on the economy. So with property values coming up and with the economy getting better, for him might not be the best time to short sell or sell at all. And now, will he still sell? Yes. He has reasons he wants to sell, to get out of the neighborhood, get his kids into another school, but maybe now's not the right time because he'd like to buy on the other end. And if he does a short sell now, tries to buy, it's not going to work out for him. He won't be qualified. So, you know, the way I explained everything, I think the better approach might be wait until you can break even, then you can sell, and then you can buy. The difficult thing about that, and I explained all the different scenarios because there really are quite a few, is that when he sells, and if his property does continue to go up in value, that on the flip side of that, when he goes to buy, he's going to be spending that much more money to get in. So it's something where I just present all of the information and I let them digest it and think about what they're going to do next.
Sure. So I think you made a good point in terms of, look, if you want to buy a new property and you're still a little underwater in your current situation, if you decide to short sell, right, you cannot go buy right away. You have to wait 2 years to let that short sell seasoning take place, unless you don't miss any payments. If you don't miss any payments and you have a valid reason for the short sell that was not taking advantage of market conditions, you can buy right away. But that's pretty difficult to do today, right? Not to miss payments for a short sell. Isn't that kind of one of the things that people have to do in order to make the short sell, I don't know, negotiation
go a little bit
in
smoother?
Your favor?
Absolutely. We cannot tell our clients to stop paying their mortgage, but it's a lot more difficult to get a short sell approved because you're trying to substantiate a financial hardship. And it's kind of hard to do that when somebody's up to date on their payments. I also have a great short sell team. It's SDH Processing. They do a really, really great job and help out quite a bit. But you still have to have that hardship. You still have to substantiate that they can't make their payments. Or the lender's going to look at it and say, look, these people are just trying to walk away from this property. And it's not going to get approved.
Got it. So again, if you have a hardship, I mean, everybody's case is different. And so if you want information or have any questions for Arlo, you could go ahead and just jump on your computer, on your mobile phone, go to bigblockradio.com. We can get any of your your questions answered by one of San Diego's best here in Arlo. Again, in that particular situation, in summary, basically, Arlo had a client that, potentially wanted to sell their house. Well, they wanted to sell their house. And when he did the listing interview, he determined that they were probably pretty close to break even. And with the appreciation that we're experiencing in the market today, and what I mean by that, home prices going up as rapidly as they are right now, your opinion was that perhaps the home value may come up to a point where they would be break even in the very near term. And when they get to that point, even though it might cost them a little bit more money in commissions and such, then they would be able to turn around and buy a house much more quickly instead of having to wait 2 years. So we appreciate that in a professional, and you're doing the right thing.
And he really appreciated that. He was a little taken back by that because he didn't expect that. I think a lot of people have a wrong idea about real estate agents, and I've seen some agents out there that's the reason it exists. But I don't go in and just try to hard sell people and, say to myself, I'm walking away with the listing, or I'm not walking away, period. It's not the way it works. And with him, maybe he expected that a little bit. He was a referral, so he has heard a lot of great things about me. I've helped short sell a lot of people that he knows their homes. But I don't think he expected that from me. So what I know for a fact, and what he told me, is when it comes time to sell, he will call me and only me. And the chance of me getting more referrals from him, I think, are much higher than had I walked in and said, you can't do it for these reasons. Let's just go ahead and get it listed and get you moving on.
Absolutely. And so the best real estate agents out there, including yourself, do holistically advise their clients. And I think, some other agents out there in it to close a transaction quickly and make a quick buck. I mean, look, there's people like that in any industry, but it goes back to, doing your due diligence on your agent, referral or not. The reason why you have the interviews is to make sure that you're getting the best agent for you and that will protect you and do the right thing by you. So I love the fact that you did that for your client. That is fantastic. All real estate agents should do that. It should be a prerequisite, but it's just hard. It's hard to maintain and hard to monitor. So with the whole scenario with short sales, is now the time to sell? I think we need to touch on appraisals.
Absolutely.
In today's market because, it really, at the end of the day, for any seller on any listing, in order to make the most money, a good appraisal needs to be done, and value needs to come in where the seller is hoping it to come in on. And same with the buyer, to protect the buyer. So talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing with appraisals today, and maybe the frustrations that you're experiencing on both sides of the transaction.
Sure. So appraisals are not coming in for the most part, especially Poway.
So when you say coming in, you mean they're not coming in at the value that the seller listed their property at?
Correct, because the demand is exceeding the value that is substantiated by closed sales, which is what the appraiser is using. The demand right now is so high. In Rancho Penasquitos, I've done 2 good deals there in the past. When I say good, I just mean a higher value. But I've done 2 transactions there just recently, and both of them, the appraisal did not come in. The demand is so high. Average days on market there right now is 3.
Wow.
And out of those 2 transactions, both of them were off market, just because through my network, I know the real estate agents there. I know who's listing. I know which properties are coming up before they hit the market. And I was able to get my clients in, convince the seller to accept our offer without ever putting it on the market, which is tough to do. Only way to get it accepted. And with both of those, we had to write our offer without an appraisal contingency, which is a little bit risky. But right now, in the majority of San Diego, you cannot keep your appraisal contingency and expect your offer to get accepted, or you just have to really drastically reduce those contingencies.
Right. So what you mean by appraisal contingency, for people that don't understand what that term means? So basically, it means a buyer, when they enter into a purchase contract historically, right, or traditionally, there's an appraisal contingency, meaning if the appraisal doesn't come in at the offer price that they placed and entered into contract, it protects the buyer. And so the buyer has a decision. They can either continue with that purchase transaction and pay the difference between where the appraisal came in at and where the contract price is, or they can go back and try to negotiate with the seller for the seller to drop the purchase price. But we're not really seeing that in today's market, because it's just so hot out there.
Right.
And so in order to get an offer accepted, what you're saying is oftentimes you're seeing really the offers that are being accepted is to remove that protection or contingency altogether.
Correct. Exactly.
And whether or not that the appraisal comes in at the value that the contract was written at, it's almost a moot point, because the buyer has waived that protection and decided they're going to buy it anyway. So they're going to have to come in with the difference of where that value came in at and the purchase price was.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And one of my clients, for example, purchase price was $635, and I know the neighborhood like the back of my hand. I thought it would come in higher than it did. I was a little shocked and really went through each of the comps very, very well, and to see if I could poke any holes in the appraisal. But it came in at $600. So my clients had to come in with $120,000 for the 20% down for their type of loan, and with an extra $35,000, and they were prepared to do that. And that's what I'm seeing across the board right now is, which actually, let me talk about that for a second, because that's really interesting. An appraiser looks at closed sales to determine value. And if you think about that, they're only looking at closed sales, then you wonder, how do prices ever go up if they're only looking in the past, right, to substantiate that price? Well, what's happening right now, like last week and this week, like right now, is people are writing offers without an appraisal contingency. Now, when those transactions close, then they go in the MLS as a closed sale at that price, and now those become closed comps for future transactions.
So closed comparables, meaning that becomes the new value of that particular area or comparable property in that area.
That's exactly right. So they paid that $35,000, but when that property closed, now their house is being used as a comparable sale. And for other houses in the neighborhood, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, well, the neighborhood value is $635. So yes, they paid that $35,000, but kind of that equity exists. So they could say, well, we have that equity now because those other homes in their neighborhood are going to close at that price or higher, not by much, but a little bit. And now that raises the bar in their neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good for the neighborhood. It's good for your neighbors, obviously, when buyers are paying higher than that appraised amount came in. And frankly, it's difficult for an appraiser these days because of all the trouble they got into 5 to 7 years ago. They're really conservative these days. So it's difficult to get a true appraised value again because the market's so hot and appraisers are being so conservative.
That's right. There was a huge article in the Wall Street Journal, and after everything, the whole market tanked, a lot of finger pointing. It was predatory lending. It was people signing on loans that they knew they couldn't pay. And then there was this huge article that came out and said, well, no, it's the appraisers. And ever since that article, because, it started at the Wall Street Journal, and then it kind of trickled down into local papers and on the news, and appraisers since then, it's a nightmare to work with them. It was a nightmare on my own property when I refinanced. It's just being in the business too, and giving those comps and crossing your fingers because it's not as black and white as it should be.
It's not, and I think in the past, look, professionals in our industry are also to blame because they were, in a sense, bribing those appraisers with money under the table to, and I'm not going to call people out because that's not everybody.
Just a disclaimer here, I can proudly say I was never part of that because I actually have only been in real estate now for going on 5 years in September.
Truly impressive that you are where you are today.
I literally came in, I moved here from Korea, and I literally came in at the bottom of the market, which for me, everybody told me I was crazy, but it's the best time to learn.
Go ahead.
When everybody's looking at every word in a contract and lending guidelines are strict, then you really have to know what you're talking about. And when things are good, everybody's crossing things off, initialing this, deals are closing, and nobody's asking any questions. So for me, it was the best time to get into the business.
Absolutely, and you've done a great job. It's been hot for the last 5 years. Whether or not you bought 5 years ago, that was pretty much the bottom, or you're getting in today. We are here at ESPN 1700 on Big Block Radio to help you win in this market. We will be right back and share some additional tips for you.
Have you been selected for an audit by the IRS? Do you owe the IRS money and want to find a way to settle your account as quickly and easily as possible? Hi, Mr. Credit here. Listen, I had the IRS come knocking on my door over $600, which I didn't even owe them as it turns out. I know how scary this stuff can be. The good news is I know exactly what to do. My tax attorney, Jeffrey Kahn, is board certified and works only on tax-related issues. He understands how the IRS works and how to make the most of each situation. And get this, mention Mr. Credit when you call and get a free consultation and a tax resolution plan. $500 value, absolutely free. Call Jeffrey Kahn today at 866-494-6829. That's 866-494-6829 today and get these tax issues behind you as quickly as possible. 866-494-6829. That's 866-494-6829.
They say you get what you pay for, meaning the less you pay, the less you get. Not necessarily true. For instance, a lot of people pay less for car insurance by switching to Geico, but get more than savings. They get satisfaction. In fact, Geico's customer satisfaction is at 97%. And that explains why I nearly got stepped on by some happy customers dancing in the street.
For a free rate quote, visit geico.com to see how much you could save. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Welcome to Burger Town. Can I help you?
Yeah. Give me a double chin, love handles, some back fat, and is it true? The badonkadonk butt is back?
And bigger than ever.
Hook me up.
With greasy fast food, what are you really getting? Instead, celebrate the return of a big-time favorite, the tasty Subway Smokehouse Barbecue Chicken. Or try the chicken teriyaki with spinach, 6 grams of fat or less. Subway, eat fresh.
Fat content refers to regular 6-inch subs on white or 9-grain wheat bread prepared to standard formula. Visit Subway.com for full nutritional information. Limited time only.
Are you getting the runaround from your bank about your loan modification? Hi, Timmy Two Sides here. If you want help with your loan mod, call my attorney, Andrew Moyer. Andrew is experienced, honest, and he'll shoot you straight about your chances. Plus, you won't pay a dime unless you get a loan mod offer from the bank. 800-682-0555. That's 800-682-0555. 682-0555 today to get honest advice and no charge at all unless you get results. Call 800-682-0555.
Para resultados y más información acerca de este programa, consultar la página espnradio1700.com.
Welcome back to the Big Block Hour here on ESPN 1700. It is a beautiful Friday in San Diego. I'm excited to be a San Diegan right now, Arlo. I'm happy to have you in studio. Arlo Nugent here with Blue Chip Realty Group. Arlo has a grand opening tonight for his successful real estate business at his new office here in San Diego from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm super excited that you didn't call me and cancel not being on the show, because you got a lot going on, from jumping in cars like the Dukes of Hazzard and all kinds of stuff in order to get here.
Dodging very angry people in a Target parking lot.
I love it, man. So I appreciate the commitment. Our listeners are very thankful for your knowledge. Let's jump back into it. So we're talking about appraisals. We're talking about the difficulty that sellers are having, frankly, today, and getting the true value they think their homes are worth. And it's just frustrating because of the unprofessionalism of the past has really affected where we are today in terms of getting value on houses. So I think, like you said, sellers and listing agents now are accepting offers, and there's plenty of them without contingencies because it's so competitive. I mean, we've talked about it on the show. There's 70 offers on some properties here recently. I just heard that was trumped. I heard like 120 offers on a particular property here in San Diego.
Wow.
Which is insane. I mean, that must have been like every buyer in a certain demographic that wanted that house.
I don't even know how property can be shown so many times to get that many offers. But what a lot of people are doing too in this market, and I've seen before, is they go out, they spend their weekends looking at properties, they get frustrated, they're not getting any offers accepted, so they call their agent, and their agent will set them up on an automatic search. A property comes up. By this time, they've seen enough properties, they're familiar with the area. They'll look at it online, and they'll say, write it at X amount of dollars, submit it, and if we get it accepted, we'll go out and look at it, just because so much time is spent going and looking at properties. And that's something that I really have to keep a lookout for on my listings, is that they're not sight unseen offers.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not enough properties out there, and there's such a glut of buyers all competing for the limited inventory out there. It's got crazy. So like you said, and I've heard this from other real estate agents, I mean, a lot of buyers are making offers on properties sight unseen just because, look, like you said, you just said in the Rancho Bernardo area, properties were on the market less than 3 days right now on average.
That's right.
On average, that means many of them were selling in the same day that they were listed.
Same day. You can go to any property there right now when it hits the market. If you show up that night between about 4:30 and 7, it looks like a house party. Every single one you go to, it's not uncommon to hear somebody make the joke, so who ordered pizzas? When's the keg coming? Because the place is full. It's absolutely full. And it got to a point when I was working with those buyers who now we've closed, I would walk around to these properties. We were always there the first night it hit the market, and we would recognize the other agents and the other buyers and just kind of laugh. So you guys didn't get the last one either? No, we didn't. We tried. We didn't. You guys going to get this one? Oh, yeah, we'll see. If not, we'll see at the next one. It's unbelievable.
It really is. And unlike where we were 10 years ago, you had a lot of builders building properties. So there was a lot of new construction out there. There was a lot of new build for sale. And so it seemed like there was a little bit more inventory. We talked about it on the show last week. We're seeing inventory levels that we haven't seen since 1996, which is just it's unthinkable, because I never thought that would happen again. Not only that, in 1996, I think we had interest rates somewhere in between 9 and 10% probably at that time, maybe a little less. But now we have just this perfect storm whereby there's very little inventory. There is a tremendous amount of demand, but interest rates are low.
And buyer confidence, too.
And buyer confidence side, because why? I mean, we're still at all-time lows. Even though we've had this nice little appreciation run, right? Valuations have gone up. We're still coming off of these tremendous lows that we had, and we're still so far away of the all-time highs that we saw in 2006. So with that, I want to talk about, what can buy. I mean, look, I'm starting to hear whisperings from buyers, or at least my clients, that they're nervous now to buy because they've seen, a home in the same neighborhood that they put an offer on, 3 months ago for $300,000, and now the home next to it is selling for $330,000 or $340,000. Arlo, when should buyers start to take a conservative approach? What do you expect in the near future with real estate, and what kind of confidence can we give the listeners out there, knowing that we're in a decent market here?
So I've had some of my clients ask me, and just people in general, they know I'm in real estate, and they ask me, does this look like a bubble to you? And I can see why they think that, because prices are shooting up. They're not slowly coming up. They're going up pretty quick. But the difference is lending guidelines are super strict now. So these people that are buying are qualified buyers. These loan programs now are good programs. They're not, what a lot of people refer to as ninja loans. No income, no job or assets. It's just not the case anymore. So putting these responsible homeowners into properties that they can afford is a difference. Now, what I also think will happen is we're going to get more inventory. So more people that maybe have been upside down for a while, people that are seeing what their neighbors' houses are selling for, are now thinking, hey, this is a really good time to sell. So I'm going to take advantage of it. So as we see that supply start coming up, which a lot of other people predict also, it's going to meet the demand and level those prices off. I don't see it happening in the next couple of months. I think prices will still continue to go up, especially with the summer surge. But I think towards the end of this year, we'll see prices level.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with interest rates kind of starting to rise.
That's the next thing I was going to say.
Yep,
right.
So as interest rates start to rise, right, people can afford less. And so they got pre-qualified at a certain interest rate that may not exist anymore in the near future, and so they're able to afford less. And I think with that, that'll kind of curb the demand, and it'll force, it'll level off the home price skyrocketing that we've been seeing. And then I think people that are interested in selling will start to kind of get more confident that they're going to get the values that they've been wanting to get for 5 or 6 years, right?
That's right. Okay. Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about 5 years from now. Where do you see real estate prices 5 years from now from where they are today?
I think that I can't really put a number on it, but I know they'll be higher than they are now. I'm confident of that. Personally, I'd like to see what happens in the next election. I think that will make a difference too. But across the board right now, consumer confidence is up. The retail industry is up. The stock market is up, and from what I know, the unemployment rate is starting to go down. So people are getting jobs. It's perfect right now. Things are going up.
It's inevitable. There's still a lack of inventory. Now is a tremendous time to be a buyer in this market. I still firmly believe that real estate's a great place to be an investor in and have an asset of. Listen, we're so thankful for you being in studio today, Arlo. Enjoy your weekend. Here. It's going to be a fantastic weekend here in San Diego. Thanks so much for everybody listening. You can ask your questions or get free information from Arlo at www.bigblockradio.com. Until next week, we will see you then.